Hello everybody, and aloha from Hawaii. Welcome to Earth in Time, a channel where we explore both human as well as Earth history and where the two intersect. And today, we're in one of those places which is an intersection. We're in Waimea Valley on the island of Oahu, where we're going to take a look at some of the amazing volcanic features that are here, talk about the geology, as well as talk about some of the influence that geology had on the early settlers in this area, or the early Hawaiian indigenous people here. In fact, we can see a recreation of one of their temples behind us. So come join me today. Let's check out Waimea Valley together. Let's learn something new and let's get to it. Here's a map of the Waimea Valley and all the things we can see. We're actually down here right now at the ticket booth. And look at that, there's basalt just underneath it. Woohoo. We can get an idea about where we're going to go. So it's both a botanical garden as well as we can work our way all the way up to the waterfall. Way we'll learn about the Hawaiian culture, and we'll talk about some of the geology as well. While we're here, I do want to show the geography of the island. So you had the old volcanic province. The original shield volcano was over here that erupted about 5 million years ago or so, and then this is the one that erupted about 1 to 3 million years ago. And then of course you had later eruptions in places like with Diamond Head and Coco Crater and Hanauma Bay coming down to the southern end that were, between about 50,000 and a few 100,000 years ago. Right now we're up here in Waimea section. We're part of the young shield volcano area here. And here you can see Waianae, so that's the old shield volcano range and area, and Koloa, which is this younger shield volcano area. Central Valley, Milikai, which is right in the middle through here. In the central area where the two shield volcanoes coalesced and came together and formed one single island. Movies that were filmed here in Waimea Valley. So TV shows Baywatch, Hawaii Five-0, Lost, Magnum PI, movies George of the Jungle, Jumanji Next Level, awesome. Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, Lilo and Stitch, The Hunger Games Catching Fire, You, Me, and Dupree, and lots of commercials. All right, made our way into Waimea Valley, into the botanical gardens. Check this out. This is a cannonball tree, and I'm sure you can see why they call it that. You can see the fruits. It's actually a Brazilian nut style tree. See some of those cannonball fruits here. Really cool. It's a bit moldy on these examples, but you can get an idea about the size. There's my hand. So here's what is actually carving the Waimea Valley, is the stream coming through here, and you can see all the basaltic rocks. You can see how rounded some of them are, which tells you they've traveled some distance, because lava rock by its very nature is not usually rounded. So here are some of the insides of the Koloa volcano, which is the one that erupted about 1.5 to 3 million years and is the younger side of the island again. And I'm getting some lessons along the way. So it's Koloa is the western volcano. Just so everybody realizes that being a geologist is hazardous work. Look at this poor geologist about to get crushed by the basalt here. All right, working our way towards the waterfall. I don't know how far we've come, but it is spectacular here in Waimea Valley. And it's been probably 35 years since I was here last time. So as we're working our way up, we can see these large boulders that would have come from up high. Gravity always rules, but you get an idea about the rock falls that occur here, which is also helping to erode this canyon. Now, all these rocks are vesiculated basalt. So these would be what we call an extrusive igneous rock. And we call it vesiculated because it has all these holes in it, which are from air bubbles when the lava was flowing out. These are pockets where there's gases trapped, and they come out and they leave the holes as the rock lithifies or solidifies. And we can see some nice examples of these basalts here. Although I'm talking about the geology a lot, I can't overlook the tropical paradise that is the Waimea Valley, and all the flowers and flora and even fauna. We saw giant snails and multiple birds array, which I'll share with you as we continue on. Here's an example of a kalo garden, if you will. And kalo, of course, becomes the taro root, which becomes poi, which is a main starch for the Hawaiian people. And they would build these terraces and flood them, and that would allow them to grow the taro or the kalo. And of course, because of the abundant volcanic boulders and rocks they have here, they would use that to create their gardens and their flooded plains where they could grow the taro. Check out that tree. Absolutely spectacular. Here's a bit more about how they grew the taro on what they call the kuilas, or the plains, and they grow various crops in this area. You can see an example in the background on the picture, but they call it the lo'i, the flooded wetlands where they grow the kalo or taro. And I like this quote, "The land is chief, man is its servant." Land has no need for man, but man needs the land and works it for life. And on our way, working up the valley, had to see some bananas. Type of pitcher plant. Look, those ones actually have a lid or a cap on them that'll close to keep the bugs in. All right, more falling rocks up ahead. So I bet we're going to see something really cool. Well, this is fun. This is a confluence between two of the streams, which work their way down to the north and down the valley to the waterfall. As we get closer to Waimea Falls, we can take a look at how this canyon's been carved most recently here, especially on the far side there. So you can see that low cliff face and all the rocks that have tumbled down into the river here. I think I can hear the waterfall. Now, of course, the waterfall is a great example of erosion. How come this valley exists? So it's slowly eroding back and back and back. And now, as we come up here in the high country, we're in what's called the Uka, or the highlands of Hawaii. And there's our first view of the spectacular waterfall. So it's a good spot to look at some of the layers associated with the volcanism here, especially with the waterfall behind, because we can actually see some of the layers there. And as we look in here, we can actually see some of the layers coming through. And each of those layers are different volcanic events. And you can see those from there all the way up into the canyon beyond. We can look up and see those same layers. And so each of these would have been a different volcanic eruption. Now, some of them are a little bit more red, which means they have more iron in them. They've been oxidized, so the mixture of water with air. And then some of them are a little darker black, so maybe a little less iron rich, and so they don't get as oxidized. But we can get an idea about the different units and how to break them up based on that oxidation, as well as we can actually see those individual layers behind the waterfall as well. Each of those would have been a different flow. And how often each of those flows came out, I don't know. They've probably done a lot of work here where they can actually date each of those flows based on radioactive decay. Volcanic eruptions have a lot of radioactive material, or minerals that have radioactive material in them. And so they can do what they call dating them through using a half-life. So looking at the amount of parent versus daughter since the eruptions. And so they can get an idea roughly about the age of some of these. Talk about erosion as part of the geologic process. You can actually see where it says falling rocks there. They have a crane, and then this giant net, which has actually captured a landslide that was coming down here. So look at all that material. There's trees and debris, and you can see the fresh face behind. So this actually did what it was supposed to do, protect the people or the waterfall and the pond here with the waterfall by capturing the debris when the slope failed. Pretty interesting to see, and really good engineering by whoever put this together. You can see a lot of folks here swimming, and you can see the beautiful volcanic topography behind them. The waterfall is slowly eroding backwards and making this canyon and these waterfalls move slowly down towards the south. So the power of erosion with this waterfall makes it a spectacular view to look at, and we can really see all the different layers and different volcanic flows going up the hill several hundred feet up that way, or 100 meters up that way, and we can see the number of flows down here. So each of these sections is probably a flow, a flow, a flow, a flow, working my way up. So there are multiple eruptions that are captured in this one cliff face, and if we look up the mountainside, there's even more. Pretty spectacular information about Waimea Falls, including when it hit a flood stage, which gives you an idea about how much rain they get here on this part of the island. So blue colors are lots of rain, so we're on the wet side of the island, or on the edge of the wet side of the island here on Oahu. And of course, all that rain means erosion and the creation of this beautiful valley. One last look back at Waimea Falls. So they do have a little Hawaiian games area, which is kind of fun, but they have nobody up here right now. I have to research into that and let me know if you ever come here and play the games, and what is this game with the sticks? And here, for all my chocolate fans, is a cacao seed. chocolate. Love all these lichen covered rocks as well. Basalts, pretty magical looking. Always keep my eyes open for minihuni as well, or the Hawaiian little people. Similar to the Irish idea leprechauns, they were builders here and helpers, but they also could be mischievous. And those are the minihuni. This is the famous baobab tree, which ends up looking like it's upside down once it gets bigger, and it stores a lot of water in its trunk. So here's the area where you learn about Hawaiian culture a bit more, from cultivating the taro to their canoe house. I have a nice little museum in here talking about the different types of lathes, the different types of stone tools, and they actually had individuals that was their specialty, to create stone tools out of basalt. So again, a place where the geology, the basalt, interacts with human culture and allowed life to be possible. This is the Halewa, the canoe house that they have built here. So they would have built the canoe in there to keep it out of the elements, and looks like they may have some other little grass huts or homes down this trail we'll look at. Inside of the canoe house, which I'm inside of right now, they actually have examples of how traditionally the Hawaiians would use different things like basalt and cowrie shells as hooks. This is an octopus lure, and this is a regular lure, and they can tie on the cowrie and some of the basalt to try to get it to the right depth. And then they have a little hand axe that they would use to carve the canoes. And they have other things like, here's a traditional anchor using a rock with some rope. Well, what a canoe could look like. And they have this little trail here talking about the different buildings, their significance, from the canoe house to the sleeping quarters to, this is the Hali'aina, the women's eating house. And this is the kapa making house. So this is where they make their fabric that they would wear and use, the halikuku. This is the pohaku aumakua, the family shrine. See, they put stones up and leave it to their ancestors as remembrance. Here's the Hale Mui men's eating house. Would be here. There's some. This is a fishing shrine. Like I say, that was fascinating, and I learned a lot. Fascinated by the culture here, the indigenous culture here on the Hawaiian Islands, and how they lived so in harmony with the environment around them, and they literally used everything around them and had such strong sense of community. Really impressive. All right, seen lots of birds, but I'm most excited about seeing this rooster down here. I always think chickens are so cool. Bird. And that's one of the endangered Hawaiian birds right there. I was hoping to see, and we saw one. That is so cool. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I really enjoyed learning about Waimea Valley, the geology, as well as the Hawaiian culture. I learned a ton. I hope you did as well. We will see you all in the next adventure. Remember to subscribe, like this video, leave comments down below. I love hearing from you. Let's go learn something new soon. Take care.